Next item up for review is the sine law. Now this is something new for you guys this year unless you took 2D. So the sine law can be written in two different ways. Now I highly recommend also that you include this on your formula sheet. I will put a formula sheet at the very back, but you might feel more comfortable if all your information was together. So if I have a star here, it probably means you probably should have it. Now there's two versions of the sine law, and it doesn't matter really which one you use. They both will give you the same results. We talked about this in class. Some people like one way or the other. Now the sine law you can use when you do not have right angle triangles. Okay, and another thing that I really want to point out that those capital letters, those are the actual angles. So don't put the angles down with the lowercase letters. It has to be angles go with the uppercase. Okay, and the only way you can separate it is with your calculator. So you just can't move sine however you want. Now you can use the sine law if you have one of the two situations. You don't have to have both, but you have to have one of them. Okay, so what the first thing is, you can have two sides and a non-included angle. So what does it mean by non-included angle? Well, let's talk about it. So two sides. So let's just choose two sides. Say we know this side here and this side here. A non-included angle would be either this one at the bottom or this one at the bottom. Okay, so it means that the two sides that you know aren't held together with the angle you know. So it has to be one of the other ones. Now the reason that is because you are actually doing a ratio again using here's side length divided by the sine of the angle, opposite angle of side A. And so you need to know either this, an angle and the side directly across. So you either get it that way or you get it the other way. Okay, so that's what it means by a non-included angle. Or it's possible that they have given you only one side, but two angles. Now, if they've given you two angles, let's face it, they've actually given you three because the sum of the interior angles of a triangle equal 180 degrees. So if they've given you two angles, the first thing that you should do is calculate the third one. And that way, if you need it, you have it. If you don't need it, it's fine. It's just a simple subtracting and adding question. Okay, so let's look at the first question that we're going to look at. So in this case, I'm asking to find angle X. You can see that they have given me two side lengths, the 10 and the 16. Now, have they given me a non-included angle? Yes. The 30 is non-included, right? Because the included angle would be down here. They didn't give that to me. They gave me this one. So in other words, I have this matching up. Now notice I didn't put any letters on this. You can if you so wish, and that's the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put some letters. So we'll just call this angle A, B, C. And just to be on the safe side, I'm going to also label the side length. So this would be little c. Directly across from 30 would be little b, and A directly across would be the 16, which would be little a. Okay, the next thing I would do is I would take the formula. And again, for one of them I'll use one, and for the other one I'll use the other one. I'm going to ungroup that for a second because I just want one of them. And I'll take this first one. Oops, I guess I really ungrouped it there. I'll take this first one. Oh, maybe I won't. I guess I'll take the second one. And then I'll do the other one afterwards. So here's the formula, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute the numbers in to the formula, because again, this is just a big formula. Okay, first of all, A. Okay, so the first thing I'm after is a measurement of angle A, which is, I don't know it, it's our x degrees, so that's what I want to find. Side A is 16. Then if I go over and do B, I have the sine of 30, and it is over 10, and For C, I don't know anything about C, so I'm actually not even going to use it. So now what I have here is I do have a ratio. And with all ratios, we're going to cross multiply and divide. I usually cross multiply the one that has the variable in it first. Okay, so I'm going to do 10 sine x. Okay, and I'm just going to go up here because I know I have another example down there. So I'm going to go 10 sine x equals, and then if I cross multiply here, it's going to be 16 sine of 30. Now, again, I'm only going to use my calculator once here when I'm doing my dividing. I want to get x by itself. Why isn't it by itself? The sine is here and so is the 10. The sine I know I can't separate from its angle unless I do a shift function. But I can get rid of the 10 because the 10 is being multiplied. So I'm going to divide both sides by 10, and I'm left with sine x equals, and now this is where I'm going to take up my calculator. So up it comes again, and on, and I haven't cleared the memory of the calculator, just the screen. So I have 16 times the sine of 30. Now this time I am going to close the bracket because I'm going to divide by 10. And notice again, I get a decimal. I get decimal 8. Okay, so I'm going to write down, oops, get back here, 0.8. Now again, that is not the angle, that is the ratio of the angle. So now to find x, angle x, and I'll use a little angle sign, I do the sine inverse, which is my shift function. And again, I need the calculator for that. So I'm going to go second sine decimal 8 equals, so I get 53.1. So 53.1, so up comes that 53.1 degree. Okay, so that wasn't too bad. Okay, the next part that we're going to look at is another example, and this time you can see we're finding a side length because I chose that. And why can't I use the sine law? I don't know. Let me see. Here's x, and I have an angle across from it, but oh, they gave me two angles. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually calculate what that angle is. So I'm going to write down so the person knows where I got it from, 180, and I'm going to subtract 40, and I'm going to subtract 15. And when I do that, and I'm sorry now I'm writing with the mouse, which isn't the greatest either, I'm going to bring up the calculator so I don't mess up. Clear that. So 180, oops, 180, take away 40, well, take away 15, take away 40, and voila, we get 125 degrees. Okay, so back to using different writing utensil, and I forgot already, 150, 125. So I have 125. Now do I have enough information to use the sine law? Yes, because I know this angle and the side directly across, I can use it. So I'm going to use the second form, or the first form, of the sine law. So I'm going to put side lengths on the top. And again, remember, it doesn't matter which form you use. And after I do this, then I'm also going to label my triangle with ABC. Now it's possible if they've already labeled the triangle for you, you can use the letters they've used, or if it really bothers you that much, you can always also change it so it's A, B, and C. I'm going to use A, B, and C. I'm also going to label my side length so I don't mess that up. And it's a matter now of substituting my information. A, we calculated, no, A is 20, and we calculated the sine of A, which was 125. B, I know is, I don't know what side B is, but I know angle B is 15 degrees. C is the x that I want to find, and the angle is 40. Now, when I look at this, I do not need all three of these ratios. In fact, obviously I need this one here because this is the one I want to find. I want to find x. And here I know both the top and the bottom, so I want to use that. So in this case, I do not need the middle one. So I'm just going to stroke it off so that I don't use it at all. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cross multiply again with these two items that are left. And let's see how much room I left myself. Not tons, but enough. So here's the x, and so I'm going to cross multiply it with the sine of 125. So x sine of 125 equals the 20 times the sine of 40. Now again, in this case, I look to see why x is not by itself. It's not by itself because there's a sine 125. So I can divide both sides by sine of 125, and that should give it to me. Now the signs can't cross out, so even though there's a sign on the top and the bottom, you can't cross them out because the only way to separate it is with the calculator function. So again, up comes our calculator, and turn it back on, and I have 20, oops, times the sine of 40. I'm going to close the bracket because I'm divided by the sine of 125. Again, I don't have to close it at the last, but I will. Okay, so I end up with 15.69, so that's going to round to 15.7. So my final answer is 15.7. Okay, and I forgot my equal sign. I check to see if I have units. I don't, and this isn't an angle, so that part's done. Okay, so there's two examples of using the sine law. You should maybe have, depending on how big you're going to write on your help sheet, it might be useful to have one of each kind. Okay, so there's going to be a third version of your review, and the next one thing that we're going to be looking at is the cosine law.